Welcome into the MVFC First and Goal podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Burke, and today I'm joined by Northern Iowa graduate, standout defensive end, the STATS FCS Buck Buchanan award winner, and NFL draft prospect Karter Schult. Karter, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's great to be on here.
It's great to be talking to you. Tell me, what has the last 4 months been like for you since your college playing career ended?
It's been great. First of all, lots of really good training. Obviously, no other time for me except for training. Really, obviously I graduated, so I didn't have anything to do. I was down in Texas training, getting ready for my pro day. So.
Well, your story, I think, is a really important one because you are from Tripola, Iowa, population 1,313. And I came to find out that you played 8-man football in high school. And so you became not only an FCS All-American at Northern Iowa, but the school's first STATS Buck Buchanan award winner, and have obviously developed into an NFL prospect. So how does one go from Tripola to NFL prospect?
It's just something I talk about my family a lot about because, it's pretty surreal. When I was growing up, I loved UNI in the first place. And, right now, I'm like number one in the record books. And that's crazy to me because I just wanted to play at UNI. And having my name in that kind of category blows me away still. But when I was going through high school, I just wanted to play football because I loved it and it was fun. I always had a dream. I wanted to be a professional athlete in the NFL, but that was a long time away. So I just was trying to have fun, play football. Really creating a lot of variable experiences, obviously, because I come from a very diverse background, playing 8-man football. And lots of small town sporting type of events. And so now, I went through college at UNI and I was always an underdog, and just kept working as hard as I could. And eventually, when I got to crack the playing rotation at UNI, I said, now this is a real possibility. If I really devote all of myself into getting better as a football player, this is a possibility. And then, my junior year, I really had a good year. And I thought, okay, it's getting even closer now. Now, if you have another good year as your senior year, you're going to have some attention from the NFL. And that's what's happened. And now this process is really, really hard. You can't really prepare for it. And so, this has always been a dream to be in this process for me. And I'm very fortunate and blessed to be in it. It's stressful. It's exciting. It's every kind of emotion that you can think of, and it's kind of crazy to think about. Just as a small town kid, being in this situation. My odds probably weren't very high, but that was okay with me.
Was the process, was it different even than you expected it to be?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit different in the sense that I didn't expect how much I wouldn't be, in the spring, my routine had always been, spring football and, winter training. And, I love training, and that was the best part of it. But all the other stuff, like I had a lot of downtime because I didn't have to do homework and stuff. And the training is completely different than what I was used to, and it was great. I loved it. But yeah, I wasn't ready. I wasn't really 100% ready for it. It kind of caught me off guard a little bit, but then I got used to it.
How do you feel like the experience and versatility of having grown up playing 8-man football, got you ready for this stage?
I said this about college too. Is like it made me more athletic. I mean, in high school I played various positions. I mean, I didn't come off the field. I was I played defensive end and I played linebacker. I was on offense. I played offensive line. I play running back sometimes. I play tight end. Like I was moved around a lot. I mean, I was even our kicker. So
No kidding.
I had
Wow.
a lot of those experiences. And so like when I came to college, I was expected. I came as a D end. I got moved to D tackle. I ended up playing some linebacker as well, and so I wasn't that thrown off by that because I had played multiple positions and I knew what to expect. And I played a little bit of offense my last year. If you asked me, I could have played even more. But anytime I get to do something new to help the team, it was fun. So, and I think that all started way back when I was in high school and got to move around a lot.
I read that your parents, Christy and Kurt, back when you were in 5th grade, did a pay for play, to motivate you to get sacks. And so can you share that story and how long that lasted? I would imagine it didn't last very long.
No, yeah. My first year playing organized football, and I don't know if I wasn't motivated or what. I was just out there having fun, but I didn't really understand, what I was supposed to be doing or something. And we were going over to a neighboring city of mine, and we traveled. I traveled with my parents, and my dad mentioned it. Said, "How about every time you get a sack or a tackle for loss today, I'll give you $1." And after I heard that, I must have just went crazy or something because at the end of the day, I had $12,
Wow.
and that was after that game. It was just that's all I wanted to do was tackle the quarterback. That's all. That's all I ever wanted to do.
That's funny. And so
But
did that last past that season?
yeah, I don't remember ever getting that $12 to be honest. But I I was probably sidetracked. They probably just bought me a pizza or something to distract me.
What positions are NFL scouts telling you that you're most likely to play at the next level, and what position do you feel like best suits you?
When I met with a lot of teams down in Florida when I was at the Shrine game, it was very variable. Some teams, in their scheme, I would be a hand in the dirt kind of defensive end. Some teams like to see if I could play outside linebacker. When I told them, my weight's kind of in the middle, but like, I'm comfortable playing all the way down to a D tackle, defensive end, outside linebacker. I'm comfortable doing that, any of them, because I have experience doing it. So I think a lot of them are trying to find a good fit for me because some teams want to use me this way, some another way. I even got asked multiple times if I could play fullback. So
Oh, no kidding.
and I'll do anything to be honest. So and it excites me all those positions. Whatever it ends up being, I'll take on that role 100%, and I'll be able to help a team in any one of them.
That's awesome. Where are they projecting you right now to possibly be drafted?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I think a lot of the media has me almost pretty much off the draft board, but that's just hearsay with how the media, some of the sites or whatever project the prospects to be drafted, because the ones who really only know are the actual GMs and scouts that are going through the process. So I've heard a lot of things earlier in the process. It's been pretty quiet lately, just with the scouts and everybody going to pro days and doing everything. I'll probably know more after my pro day tomorrow, but I've heard anywhere like late round 6th, 7th, undrafted free agent. All of its possibilities to me. Either way, I've always been an underdog, so whether I get drafted, I'd love to, but if it doesn't happen, my mindset's going to be the same, and I'm going to do everything in my absolute power to make a team. So.
I'm sure. Well, speaking, you just mentioned the pro day. You've been down in Texas training for pro day and the draft. And so take me through a typical week and what your workouts look like in preparation for those things.
Okay. So we, start on a Monday. At the beginning of the process, it was a lot heavier workouts. So I'd be on a really tight schedule because of my nutrition and everything. So I'd have to wake up at a certain time, eat the food that was given to me for breakfast at like 9. I'd have an hour or two to mentally prep myself to go in and work out around noon. We would I would get there about an hour before we started the workout to get my body ready to work out, and then we'd start the workout as a group, probably at 12 or 1, and depending on what day it was, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, there was always something different. So one day was devoted to one part of pro day, and another day was devoted to another part of pro day. So let's say Monday was like vertical explosion and acceleration in the 40-yard dash, stuff like that. And then Tuesday would be, long speed. So like the back end of the 40-yard dash, and then explosiveness out for like broad jumps. So it was kind of like that. We'd get done with one half of the workout. We'd get about 30 minutes of break, and then we'd have another workout in about 30 minutes to an hour, working on positional work. So for me, it was linebacker and defensive end. And we'd probably get done around 4 or 5, somewhere in there. And then we'd have probably an hour or two of recovery. And then I'd get to head home and go to bed probably no later than 10.
Okay.
Because, I was trying to get 9 to 10 hours of sleep. So I was on a pretty tight schedule, but I liked it because I really like structure, and it allowed me to be really disciplined with all my aspects of what was going on in my life. So it was something that I really enjoyed.
Well, and frankly, you're probably used to all that structure from being an athlete, and a football player.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Here, the last 4 or 5 years, I thrive on that. People tell me, tell me what to do, and I'm going to do it. So that's what I liked about the training. Like, if you do this, you're going to improve in this. And I was like, all right, tell me what to do, and I'll do it. And so it was like that every day. And the more work, the more I loved it. So
you talked about, having that kind of hour to get yourself ready to work out. And so how do they work with you down there on the mental side of football and just getting in the right mindset?
Yeah, we'd have 1 or 2 days devoted a week to talking about off the field skills and mental skills, transitioning from a college athlete to being a professional athlete. And being a professional athlete, no one really is responsible for you except for you now. And it wasn't as hard for me to grasp that idea, but we would talk about what to do off the field, like social media, talk about interviewing skills, nutrition, sleeping. We would talk about all those kinds of things that you might have to talk about with scouts and teams getting interviewed, so that you're prepared off the field, and then just being able to mentally come ready to train every day and not waste days of training, because every day counted.
Yeah. What was the process like of finding an agent, and how did you specifically decide on your agent, Gary Glick, who's out of Dallas, based Synergy Sports?
Yeah. First of all, the process is kind of crazy. It's like, relating it to something people can relate to. It's like The Bachelor, or like The Bachelorette, kind of. It's like everyone. For me, it was like around 10 or so agents during the season trying to talk to me and throw their pitch at me to, represent me. And, during the season, I didn't really want to deal with it because I was really focusing on football. And then after the season ended, it really kind of picked up, and I had to see, what agents offered me this and that and see what the best option was. And so, eventually after the season ended, I narrowed it down to 3 different guys. They were all really good guys. Then I made sure that, my family met with them and we had a sit down to go through everything. And then I just took a week off of any kind of contact or anything and just to think about it. And when I finally made my decision, I just thought about what was going to be best for me and how well it fit together. And that's how I ended up with Gary. Gary offered me a lot of great incentives, and just my family and me fit in with him really well. He's really family oriented, which is important to me because that's been my whole life is my family. So he's been great, and but before I made the decision, it was pretty crazy. And then as soon as you make it, big relief off your shoulders. So that's how it was for me.
I liked the Bachelor analogy. That's actually a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
Well, my conversation with Karter continues shortly, but if you're enjoying this edition of the MVFC First and Goal podcast, check out all the Lineup Media Group offerings featuring your favorite sports as well as non-sports podcasts too. Now back to the show. You really dominated this season from start to finish. You led both the FCS and FBS levels in sacks with 17. You were the Missouri Valley Football Conference Defensive Player of the Year. You're ranked second in the FCS with 24 tackles for loss. And as you kind of alluded to earlier in the podcast, you leave Northern Iowa ranked first in career TFLs, yards from sacks, quarterback hurries. It's a laundry list. Second in career sacks. But who was the most influential person during your time at Northern Iowa and helping you develop into the player that you are now?
It's hard to say one person because so many people helped me along the way. Because without the strength coaches like Nick Davis and Jed Smith, I wouldn't have been in the situation to be strong enough to be playing in the first place. Then after they helped me when I got with Coach Pop, if I wouldn't have had those foundational layers, maybe I wouldn't have worked out as well with him. But Coach Pop, I always say Coach Pop was the most influential because he taught me so many things on the field and off the field. Taught me how to be a better person and a better man, a better teammate, a better leader. And that's all outside of the technique he taught me in football and just how basically, how to be a professional athlete. He started teaching me that when I was already a sophomore. So when I graduated, I already felt like I had a little bit of an advantage. But there's so many great coaches here that have helped me grow, and teammates. I mean, it's hard to say one because I loved this university so much, and the coaches and everyone, including everyone here, the media, everyone was so great to me that they all helped me in some way. So.
Your former teammate, Xavier Williams, just wrapped up his second season with the Arizona Cardinals, and he was an undrafted free agent. And so have you been in contact with him at all through this whole, draft process the last couple months? And if so, what advice did he have for you?
Yeah, well, our paths have kind of followed pretty similar. My path has followed his pretty similarly so far. And when I got the invite to go to Florida to the EastWest Shrine game, I knew that he had went, so I reached out to him and asked him, what to expect and what to do. And we had really good conversations about what to expect and how to go about the week. And it really helped me out because I was going to go down and be with the big boys of the FBS, so it made me feel a lot better. And then I had a good week. So X and I, he's always been a mentor to me. whether it was tough love or not. he always made me better, and I'm sure I'll be reaching out to him in the next month or so to ask, where I go in the draft, what to expect for the next part. So.
Well, speaking of the EastWest Shrine game, was there a moment during that week that was a big confidence booster with you? Because like you said, you were, going against the big boys, so to say, of the FBS, but performed really well in the game.
Right. I like to feel things out. So we got there, and, I got there the very last flight of the first day, and so like everybody was already there, and I showed up and I was like one of the last players to get there, so it was right away like I got thrown into the fire. We were doing interviews and doing meetings and stuff, and I haven't even gotten unpacked or anything, so I'm already like overwhelmed. I'm like, oh gosh, what's happening? And then we started practice, and I just told myself, it's football. These guys are just like you. And it was a really good week. I mean, not only the game, but in practices, I really did well. I heard a lot of good feedback from scouts. And, one of the biggest knocks on pretty much anybody who's successful at the FCS level is, they didn't play good competition. But, football is football to me. And as you can tell, there's other really good FCS prospects as well. And just because you're from a big school doesn't mean you're any better than the guys who produced at a FCS school. So that's kind of my whole point when I went down there. I wanted to prove that because I knew that that's what critics were going to say. So I feel like I achieved it.
Well, and let's be real too. I mean, it's not like UNI plays a cupcake schedule either. Non-conference, you guys play a difficult opponents, and then you're playing in the best FCS conference in the country.
Right. I mean, everyone in the MVC and everyone around here knows what the MVFC is about. I mean, you don't have to ask Iowa more than once about the toughness of the MVC. I mean, we play North Dakota State all the time, and they continually beat FBS schools. We beat FBS schools. Other teams we play beat FBS schools. Just because of the label doesn't mean we play football at any lower of a level. And so I could go on and on about that, but I don't feel any shortchanged about the conference that I played in or even the level, because you're right. I mean, our schedule has always been tough. I mean, even when we don't play our meat shredder of a conference schedule, we're always playing, Montana or some others schools that are always up in the rankings.
You had a chance in December to go to New York City for the William V. Campbell Trophy Award Banquet and really just mix and socialize with a bunch of NFL legends. And so tell me about that experience and what it was like.
It was amazing. I mean, first of all, to be there representing UNI was an absolute honor, and the whole weekend was first class. I mean, crazy, the people who were there. I mean, the very first day I walk in and there's Archie Manning, I'm like, oh, wow. And we go and we meet him right away at the very first day. And then, obviously the other 11 other finalists with me were really great guys, and getting to meet them and get to know them was really awesome as well. Made a couple friends that I still talk to, and then once we got to the actual awards banquet for the announcing of the Campbell Trophy and everything, even bigger names like Peyton Manning was there, and Archie was there with Peyton, obviously, Jerry Jones, Roger Goodell, all those guys were there, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I got to shake a couple of their hands, so it was pretty surreal for me.
That's awesome. Well, let's move to the rapid fire round, so to say. So I'm going to ask you a question, and just kind of whatever is the first thing that comes to mind. For you, what was the most memorable sack of your college career?
I want to say any sack that I got on Carson Wentz.
Understandable. How many times do you think you sacked him?
I think it's either 3 or 4. I can't remember exactly. I'd say 4. So if you ask me.
What do you think will be your first NFL purchase?
I don't know. You ask my family, I'm really cheap and stingy, so I'll probably save it. But I need a new car, so maybe a car. I don't know.
Well, either way, it doesn't sound bad. So, I mean, saving your money is probably a good thing. So, how did you get the nickname Mr. Rockem Sockem?
No, that was Coach Pop. Back when I was a younger guy, the very first time Coach Pop was there, it was in spring ball, and I had a bad habit of leading with my head, and then my arms would pop up like a Rockem Sockem robot. So eventually we got that changed, and it was the other way around. But at the very first, he'd hit me on the head, and my arms would fly up. So he nicknamed me that.
It's funny. Does he still call you that?
Oh, he still gives me a hard time about it. Yeah.
How have you managed to keep this whole process, the last 4 months or so, in perspective?
That's a good question. I mean, it is hard to do that because you feel on top of the world, but at the end of the day, for me, my priorities are always set. My family and football is up there as well, and I want to make this a career for me. And it is crazy to think about where I've come, and so thinking back, all the people who've helped me and where I've come from really helps me stay grounded and make sure I stay true to who I am and what got me here in the first place. So,
what are your life aspirations beyond football?
Well, I've always, I love this area of, like, I went to school for exercise science, so fitness is really important to me. So, strength and conditioning is something I've always been really in love with. In my summers away from you and I would coach baseball. So, coaching and teaching is something I really, really love to do. That's probably what I'd get into, whether it would be, I love baseball and I love football, so whether it would be those two or just coaching strength and conditioning, something. Hopefully, my dream is to own my own gym one day, so
nice.
That'd be my aspiration.
That's cool. If I were an NFL scout or a GM that you were talking to right now, and let's say I'm on the fence about you, and it's leading up to draft day, what would you want me or them to know about you?
I would say that, I've done everything possible in my college career to make myself stand out. I've produced exceptionally well, and the NFL's a production league. I know how to rush the passer. I'll do anything that you want. I'm the first guy in the building. I'm the last guy out. I'm not just a meathead either. I'm very smart. I'm a quick learner. So if you need me to learn more than one position, I can do it. I'll never have any problems off the field. There's no worries. If you're going to spend your money on me, it's going to be well worth it. You're not going to be disappointed. And I'll spend every day, giving my all, every single day, giving my all for for them. So that's what I would say.
And finally, we're taping this podcast right before your pro day, which is scheduled for tomorrow. Where do you feel like you will excel tomorrow?
I think most people probably, they probably know me for being a really strong guy, and, I will do well in that too. But I think I'm going to surprise a lot of people with my speed. I think that was the biggest question from critics, would be that, my lack of speed or something. But I think I'm going to surprise people with my speed tomorrow, and also my positional drills. So I'm excited for all of it. I think I'm going to surprise some people. I've been working really hard, and I think my numbers are going to tell a story about me that helps the critics and what they think. So,
will it be a little bit of a relief after tomorrow's over?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it will be, just because all the 3 months that I've been training for this, have all built up to then, and then after tomorrow I can just worry about being a football player again. Something that comes really natural to me, and not running around cones and stuff like that. So.
Well, the NFL draft is coming up April 27th through 29th in Philadelphia, and Karter will certainly be rooting for you and wishing you and your family all the best here over the next month.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on here.
Glad to have you on. And if you like what you heard from Karter Schult and our MVFC First and Goal podcast, be sure to subscribe, and don't forget to check out the many other podcast offerings from Lineup Media Group, including some of their newest shows, the 11th Inning Stretch, which is a baseball podcast, as well as the Drop podcast, which covers the NFL. Head to lineupmedia.fm for more info, or to subscribe. You can also find us on iTunes and Stitcher.